is Helen Keller. Let's get started. Dun, dun, dun. Who was Helen Keller? Well, Helen Keller was a woman who is now very famous and could have been rich, but tried to and failed for that matter. So Helen Keller is a woman, and she had a very long history for that matter. She was born in 1880 in Tuscumbia, Alabama on June 27th. June 27th. And there, she was a very bright girl. She was the youngest in her family back then. And since it was in Alabama, she was very cute. And when she learned how to walk, which was very quick, she learned her first words. Tee, 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 wah, wah. Literally. And then before she was 2 years old, when she was like an year and a half, she got very sick and had a very high fever. During that time, there were not many medicines like today because luckily, it's the 19th century. Yippee! No medicines for a lot of people, by the way, which is actually bad. And everyone thought that Helen would die. And, well, suddenly, Helen recovered, and everybody rejoiced. Except for one thing. One day, Helen Keller was in the bath, and then she tried to blink. She couldn't. Her mother was like, huh? And waved at Helen's face, trying to see if she would blink or not. But she didn't blink at all, even once. She was blind. And then they tried everything to talk to her when they weren't looking at her. And she heard nothing. And Miss Keller's fear was true. Her daughter was deaf as well as blind. And so her parents took Helen to a doctor, and the doctor checked her, but there was nothing to do. But how did Helen learn or even interact with the world in her little silent dark world? That is bad. Imagine Helen's world as something of this. You have two pieces of cotton, or at least anything that will block every sound out. And you put it in your ears, and then you blindfold yourself so that you will see nothing. This is Helen's world. Whenever anyone at least tries to talk to you, they can't. Whenever anyone tries to look at you or make them look at you, you can't. As well as being almost everything in the world, there's a lot of things that people have found out about Helen Keller as we've journeyed through her. Helen Keller later met Anne Sullivan, who was opted to the job by Alexander Graham Bell, who told the Kellers about the Perkins School, where basically everyone goes there because they're blind or deaf or both, for this matter, to be taught. And Anne Sullivan was told that she would be ready for the job. And Anne Sullivan wasn't even sure that if she could even teach Helen. Well, these were her job options. Take the job of the teacher or go work in a factory. Now, factories back then were very bad. So basically, she prompted to choose the better to teaching, which turned out to be more of a challenge. And there was a bit challenging. Helen Keller didn't even realize Anne Silver was there for her teaching at first. And then one day, this happened. Helen Keller was washing her hands, and then Anne Silver spelled the word water in Helen's hand. And then they went to the pump, which pumped out water, and then when water came out and rushed over Helen's hand, and when Anne Sullivan spelled water again in Helen's hand, Helen finally understood that she was learning for something, that words stood for things. And so, yeah, that's a very big story. And that's how Helen Keller was saved from eternity doom in the darkness. The wall was crumbling away and crumbled away, literally and metaphorically. And now that Helen Keller is good, she started learning stuff quickly and faster than very other students. And then everything happened literally quickly. She learned everything: arithmetic, which is her very least favorite subject, science, chemistry, English, literature, math, I think, geometry, history, a lot of things. Okay, maybe not chemistry. A lot of things that she was taught. She taught and learned quickly. She was a quick learner for a girl. And then Anne Sullivan had a good success. Helen Keller wrote a story which got published into books. And then they got everything rich. I'm kidding, they're not rich. Then Helen Keller grew up and Anne Sullivan grew older. And another thing was happening. Helen was going to Radcliffe. But she wasn't at Radcliffe yet. Anne Sullivan wanted to marry John Macy. And what would happen to Helen? That was her question. And exactly what would happen to Helen? So when she and John Macy married and officially changed her name from Anne Sullivan to Anne Macy, Helen Keller decided to live with them. She tried to support herself, which didn't really work out when she tried to publish her book, which should have given her a lot of money. And, well, a lot of things happened. Firstly, Anne Sullivan and Helen Keller tried to create a movie that would turn them into movie stars called Divilence. And it was a silent film. And when Divilence was released, it wasn't a hit. Disappointed, they came back from Hollywood all the way back to their old house. Wang, wang, wang. And that's actually one of the bad things that happened with Helen Keller. Helen Keller was a good author, though, and eventually she published 3 books that actually did her no good. It was just enough for her to support herself, but not enough to get what it was like for her family. People thought of themselves sometimes to be smart, and Helen was smart. She even got a college degree. She even got a college degree, but now that Helen knew how to talk, technically knew how to talk, now she could tell people what she actually thought on her own. But with a very strange accent, by the way. And she was able to give very strong speeches as she had when she went to Perkins and tried to give speeches at Perkins when she was literally less than 10 years old. She was pretty much cute back then. But now that Helen Keller is here, there's not much anyone could do with her. Then Anne Sullivan died, and Helen Keller was devastated. And finally, Helen Keller wrote a book called Teacher, Anne Sullivan Macy, which talked about Anne Sullivan and about Helen's life with Anne Sullivan. And that was as good as new. And Helen Keller was loved, and when she went to Japan, she was respected literally more than anyone else. Any deaf person that the Japanese ever treated very. So yeah, that's exactly what happened. And when Helen Keller died herself, she was famous all over the world for her movement against against inequality for women and for the deaf and blind, and also for treatment of the deaf and blind. And she was famous for all of that. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And if you did enjoy this episode, please tell me in the comments below what you think about Helen Keller. Well, for me personally, I think Helen Keller was an awesome woman and social activist, and also a very good author for that person. But here, Helen Keller was most importantly to me an activist and a person who acted out for everyone, deaf, blind, for women, everyone. So hit the subscribe button and see you in the next episode. Shine out and peace.